Hi guys. Today we are going to be doing tutorial number 7, which is the dispersion effect. And in this tutorial you can see here, I'm going to be following along with exactly what it says, so you should have that linked in Google Classroom. And when you're going through, it's a very complex step-by-step, but if you follow along you should get a really cool example of how you can make an object or a person have this dispersion effect. So I'm going to move this into my other screen and you'll see my step-by-step on Photoshop, and let's get started. So it says to create a new Photoshop file. We're going to do an 8x10, but you can really choose whatever you like, and it should be horizontal or vertical depending upon your image. So my image is a vertical image, so I'm going to make it 8 and height by 10. Always make sure the resolution is 300 pixels per inch in Photoshop, especially. Create. And then we're going to follow the instructions. We'll file, place linked. You're going to find your picture. Mine's in downloads. Yours probably is too. I have one that's completely done and I'm going to use that in a second, but right now I'm just going to show you how to get there with my figure of my son. So if you don't know how, you're going to resize it, and then you're going to figure out how to get rid of your background. There's many ways we've already discussed in the past, but to refresh your memory, make sure you're on the correct layer. If this is a picture from the web, you need to rasterize it, which means you need to take your eraser tool and click it. If you have your eraser, you click anywhere that says the smart object will be rasterized. Yes, you want to do that so you can erase. Basically, you can erase, of course, if they don't have a low opacity. And you can erase this way, or the easiest way is to take your quick selection tool, the fourth one down, and you can then go through and either select your background like I'm doing here. That's a little too much, right? So you just go to the negative and pull it out. You can make your brush smaller or larger depending upon, and then you can just hit delete. If you have other areas, like that's where I did the eraser, you can delete that too. You can also take your lasso tool and clean it up. So there's another way of doing that. I'm going to go back, or you can go to your history tool. And then what you can do is you can select your person, which tends to make it a little easier, or your object, whatever it is you're using for this tutorial. So once I have my person selected, then I'm going to go to select inverse, and that helps me to grab my background. This especially will help as if you have a whole entire background around the person in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to delete this layer because, and then use your lasso tool to get rid of those dotted lines. You can click anywhere with the lasso tool and go back to your selection move tool. So I'm going to place in mine that I already have started because I really like the way I'm going to do the dispersion around the back side, and hit enter once you place it in. In our instructions after step number 3, which is erasing, we're going to duplicate the body 3 times. So we need to make 3 copies of this. We're really only going to use 2, but we're going to duplicate it 3 times because we want to have one in case of, oh no, I need that to, I really messed up. I have it to start with. So copied, go to the plus sign, drag it to the plus sign, and copied. So you have 3 copies, and I usually just hide the 3rd copy so that I'm working with these 2. So copy 1, copy 2. Now it says to create a gray box tool over the background that shows you if you mix any areas. So if you create your box tool, you can pick a gray. It doesn't have to be, Ultimately, in the end, you can add the same picture into the background if you want, because then you can make it look like it's realistic. You know, it doesn't have to have this gray background with the dispersion. It could be, you know, the actual picture, so it looks like it could be really truly happening. So drag this behind, and with mine I had saved it as a JPEG, so I need to use my magic eraser and get rid of those backgrounds. So this shows me that I had done a little bit too much there. I erased too much. So I'm going to go back real quick, because you see how white it is right there. And I'm going to select this area. I'm going to hit delete. And that way I can then go and use my magic eraser. Oh, it still did it, but you get the idea. This is where I'm going to be dispersioning anyway, so it's not a big deal. For this tutorial, you just be a little more cautious, but I'm not going to spend forever. What I'm going to do now is go on to step number 5, and that's creating a liquefied layer. So make sure the first layer is selected, which is the second one down, copy number 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Filter, Liquefy. So if you go up to Filter, you're going to go down to Liquefy, and we're going to be doing this on the layer below. If you did it to the top layer, you just drag that below. We're going to go to Liquefy, and using a large brush, it suggests about 200, but you know, you can use a smaller brush and then just exaggerate it, but about a 200 brush is good. And then you're going to liquefy this layer by stretching it over. It's going to look really funny, but the reason we're stretching it over is to make sure that this is enough to quickly disintegrate out. Don't liquefy all of your person, just the left side, and stretch it as far as you can, not like crazy, but have a little bit of variety, you know, in and out, just so it's not too predictable. Okay, and here I go. I'm going to keep going. Pull this over. It's going to look pretty funny. You can do this to your faces just for fun. Filter, liquefy on anything. It doesn't have to be this tutorial. It's a pretty funny thing to do. And I'm going to do most of this leg because I'm going to dispersion most of this. Okay, I'm getting there. Pulling it over, and you can do as much or as little as you want. It is better to have more and then gradually fade it out over to the side. Alright, hit OK, and what you're going to see is you have your top layer still with your bottom layer with the liquefy effect. You're going to click your second layer down, and you're going to be adding a vector mask. So you can see here at the bottom it says add layer mask, which is a square with a circle in it. And when we do this, you want to make sure you have the black and white over here on your paint and your fill. And if you don't, just click this little and reverse it. The biggest, most important part to make this work is when you add this mask thumbnail, after you click on it, we're going to hit Control I, Ctrl I to inverse it. Control I will inverse it and turn that black, and it's going to hide this, and that's how we're going to reveal our thing. So I'm going to go back real quick. You're going to click on your second layer down, which is your liquefy layer, hit your mask, and then when your background over here, your colors are black and white, your fill, Control I, so that it goes to black layer mask thumbnail. Then you're going to go up to the top and you're going to add a layer mask here. This is going to remain white. Okay, so that's really the most important part of this tutorial, is making sure it looks exactly like this. Your background has the mask thumbnail that has it Control I inverse turned black with the black and the white, and then your top one has just the white. And if you don't have that, go back in the video and make sure you're step by step doing that correctly. Alright, So let's going back to the instructions. We are now at the step number 11. It says now the fun begins. We're going to select window brushes. And window brushes or brush settings, you're going to have all these different types of brushes and dry brushes. And what we're going to use, if it's still here, is we're going to go down to special effects brushes and Kyle's splatter. So special effects. And you can drag this down. So the Kyle's splatter brushes, there's all different kinds of them here. That's a Supreme Splatter and Texture. This is Splatter Bot Tilt. So it's totally up to you, but I like the first one. And then with the size, it suggests that you do about a 284, which is automatically what it already is on, but you can change and you can make that higher or lower. This is going to be a very textured process, and when you are working on this, you can change it, you can tilt it, it's going to naturally tilt and change when you're doing it because Kyle designed it to do so. Otherwise, you can do that yourself by changing this tilt here if you go over into the brush settings. But otherwise, you're going to go and you're going to click on your layer 1, which is the top white layer mask right here. This top one right here, and you need to click on the layer mask. We're not doing it to the layer itself, we're doing it to the mask, and we're going to be revealing it. So to make the foreground black and the background white on the color tools, so the foreground needs to be black and the background needs to be white. Foreground black, background white, because it's opposite of what's over here. We're doing black brush on a white mask. That's important or this will not work. And then make sure you really have it selected, and what you're going to be doing is you're going to be click, 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 click all around. Don't go too far over here, because if you do, you're going to be erasing your actual image, and we only want to click along the left side. And you're going to notice that if you're clicking along the left side and you're getting rid of this, you're going to start to see it building up on your mask. So I'm clicking, clicking, clicking. You can even drag and click and drag, but sometimes that gets to be a little much. So I like to click myself, because if you go and you do too much, you can Control Z and go back. So what you want to do is you almost want to just click enough to get rid of all the extra on the left side. You don't want to do all the right, just the left side, because this is where we're going to have it disintegrating. Now I'm also noticing I don't want to get too much of my face, so it's okay down here to really like go to town, but I'm going to lower my size a little bit because I'm going to like really focus right on the back of the head, because I don't want this line to be showing. I really want this to completely disappear. See how it's disappearing now? Because I'm getting a little more right there. I'm making sure that there's no solid edges, and then it's still got that really cool texture going in. I'm fading it in. It's going to be like a nice gradual. Okay. So you try to do the same. It's going to take a little bit, and if you mess up, you can go back and drag your other layer to the top once again, because going back in history, it's not going to take you back far enough. So that's why we have a nice layer and make another copy. All right. So your mask layer should look like this because it's got all of it completely erased out. I'm going to bring this baby back up to the 284, about that. You don't have to be perfect. Oop. And then go down to the next step, which is number 13. And select the black mask here. And when you select the black, we're going to be revealing our hidden liquify layer. You need to reverse this. You need to have the white on the top, so hit the little arrow, the white on the top and the black underneath. Now it's really cool. All you literally have to do is start clicking. And you're going to be revealing. Only click a little bit out here. Remember how we have that fading? We don't want to see those faded edges. We just want it to be a little bit out here and then a lot more in here to look like our person is like, or an apple or whatever your subject is doing, is disintegrating. And that's the entire idea behind why we did the stretch. Okay? All right, so it's a pretty cool effect. You do as much or as little as you want. Definitely not much out here. If you do too much, you're going to see those disintegration lines. And then I would just go back so that you don't have that. But I'm pretty good with this. I think that's the way I want to keep it. If you want to then take your rectangle tool, delete that, and put your picture, your original picture in, you just have to make sure you're getting rid of your person. You don't want those hard edges underneath. Or put a different background in. You know, maybe you had a different background you can just put right in so it looks natural. That's fine as well. But ultimately, when you're done, you're going to file, save it as a JPEG. I'm going to save it as Logan Dispersion Complete, or whatever you want to do it. I'm going to put it on my desktop, or you're going to put it in your PC, your files, and hit save. I usually try to do, an 8 or a 9 as a high or a maximum, hit OK. And then you'll have your, let me go to my desktop and open it up so you can see. Here we go. Once it loads, I have a lot of programs open, and you can see the really cool effects. Alright, so if you got stuck here and there, it's a complex tutorial, go back, rewind, pause it, look at the instructions, and do the best you can. I hope you have fun. Thank you guys.